Colorado's a flex fuel, so I'm thinking about switching over to that E85 ethanol stuff.
Don't do it.
No, you don't think so?
Don't they say you get worse gas mileage?
Yeah, so you get about, from everything I read, because I have a buddy who has it right now in his truck, and it's about 20 to 30% in fuel economy drop, but the price is like, I guess the offset of the cost savings is okay. So like, for instance, like right now, the way I drive, I probably get 18 miles per gallon on my truck.
So you'd get like
16, 14, somewhere in there. Yeah. So I don't know. I can give it a try and see what happens. But
how cheap is that stuff right now? Like, let's say it's $5 a gallon right now where we are.
Yeah, I've seen it for $2.99. Cheap as $2.99
so it's
right
like
now,
40% cheaper.
Yeah. So it's a significant difference for sure.
What does it do to your engine? Does it like dirty it up or something?
No, actually, it's cleaner for your engine because it runs at a higher it has a higher ethanol content, which burns cleaner than regular gasoline.
So can you just like, hey, I'm on E and just throw that stuff in there?
Yeah, pretty much. Guys, I asked my buddy who's got it, and I was just like, hey, did you need to like completely empty your tank out? Did you have to fill it with gas and just slowly mix it in there? Like, how to work? He's like, nope, if your car's rated for it, just start filling up whenever. Like,
nice.
Okay.
Are most cars rated for it?
Not always. No, I know Chevy had there was I don't know if they still do it, but their trucks, they had a period where they were just literally offering it on every Silverado between like 2012 and 16, I think, or something like that. So, yeah. So it's basically you want to look for, you either have a yellow gas cap or like a yellow ring if you don't have a gas cap around your.
I'm sure I can't use it for my Fusion.
No.
I'm sure I couldn't.
And like mine has a little sticker on the window that says Flex Fuel E85.
Yeah, you need the Flex Fuel thing. That's right. Yeah. I wonder if my Edge has it. It might.
It's possible.
It might.
Yeah.
I know my dad's truck has it for sure. His F-150. Anyways, welcome to the show, Silvertime Hockey Talk. I'm Mark. This is Justin. I decided to just hit the record button while we're talking about gas. Why not? I mean, hey, maybe there's someone out there with a truck who also likes hockey. Do those exist? Lots of them. So there you go. There's your daily dose of money saving tips. We'll turn this into a couponing show next.
Couponing. Dude, okay, so funny story. My sister used to be one of those people that had like the whole like booklet with like the trading card slots in them where you could throw coupons in there, and she would literally sit there at the checkout lane and just go through her book for coupons. And I mean, don't get me wrong, she would save like $20-$30, but like the effort you have to put in the clip coupons.
Yeah, you might just go get a job.
Right.
That's
just go get a job.
My dad, he's been building his house and not working. Like he's 60. He's made plenty of money, but he they're building their house and he hasn't worked now in like a year as they've been through this process. And he was saying like, I was thinking about putting up my own gutters, but it would save me $1,500. I was like, Dad, just go get a job. Like it's $1,500. You can make $1,500. I mean, the way he was making money in like a couple days. So just don't put up your own gutters. You're just asking to die.
Does he have is his house one of those 2 stories where there's no like first story roof underneath the gutter, and so you're falling like 30 feet? Well,
no, because their house is a big ranch. It's like a 2,000 something square foot ranch with a full walkout basement. So it's kind of like it's 2 levels, 2 full finished levels, but half it's a basement. But yeah. Anyways, I digress on that. But yeah, you're here to hear. If you're listening to this, you're here to listen to us talk about hockey, as we usually do. We very rarely divert from talking pure hockey, which I actually have heard from a couple listeners that the reason they like our show is because we don't talk about stupid shit. But too bad. Every now and then, I feel like it's fine. It's one thing when you get those shows where you're like, I've been listening for 25 minutes and you've yet to even mention the Arizona Coyotes. What the hell?
So that kind of reminds me. So I listened to this podcast about the TV show Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay, yep.
And they'll spend like the first 15 minutes just talking about just random shit. They'll start like for 20 seconds talk about an episode, and then they just get off on a tangent for the next 20 minutes talking about other stuff. So
my favorite episode is the cannibal episode.
Oh,
That's
so
my
good.
favorite one. That or what's the move that bus guy? What's that?
The Extreme Home Makeover.
Yes,
show.
the Extreme Home Makeover episode.
So good.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're missing out. On today's show, aside from talking about random stuff, we're going to talk a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers as they were eliminated by the Colorado Avalanche in 4 games. I had that about exactly opposite as you could have. I said the series would go 7 games, and I said the Oilers would win. Instead, it goes 4, and the Avalanche win. And I knew the Avalanche would win, but I just kind of was like, I'm going to pick the Oilers, and I feel like maybe Connor McDavid can do it again. And for once, it wasn't enough. Just wasn't enough in this series. We'll get to the Oilers as well. We're going to talk about the 4 teams that were eliminated in the second round. We didn't get around to talking about kind of the future for those teams. The St. Louis Blues, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Florida Panthers, and the other team that escapes me.
Calgary.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And the Calgary Flames. So we'll talk a little bit about their off seasons as we rapidly approach the NHL draft, which is the combine just happened. We are flying as the playoffs continue. 28 teams are doing stuff. They're on to the next season, and we're still not even done with the third round. So, you want to talk a little Oilers first?
Let's do it. I was waiting for this one all week.
Okay. Give me your thoughts on the series first and foremost.
Well, obviously, it's a situation of just how out depth that the Oilers were, right? You saw how dominant Drysdale and McDavid were in the second round against Calgary, and really that Colorado depth came to play, and it was just scoring from every angle. And if it wasn't Leon or McDavid really contributing either through primary, secondary assist or really lead to goals, like that Zach Hyman goal, for example, that was all Drysdale. Yeah. And et cetera, really, if it didn't go through those two, it was bleak. There wasn't really much going on. So clearly it's just a situation where they've got some internal looking to do. And
I also think, yes, they brought in Evander Kane. That was sort of a gift wrap for them that they were able to do that. It's not too often that, a free agent is able to just come over and sign who is, he's a consistent 30 goal scorer, probably was the most talented player on the Sharks, at least the last couple years. Not necessarily the best player, but maybe the most purely talented player. And you just kind of get him for nothing. That's not going to happen again. I don't know that he even signs in Edmonton, but it's other than him. I think that because of where they were at the deadline, I think Ken Holland went, I can't trade my first round pick for this team. This team has not earned it. We just kind of need to see what we have. And now I think you can look at this team and go, okay, they can now better build around what they've got going on because they do have a little bit of money freed up finally. They'll have $26 million going into next offseason. Mikko Koskinen is finally a free agent. We'll see if Mike Smith comes back and retired. He was a little bit on the fence at the end of that series, but a lot of guys are on the fence after losing deep into the playoffs. But this team now is poised to actually be willing to maybe make some upgrades and trade away some of those first round picks.
Yeah. So just to, I guess correct, if that's the right word, what you just said. So they have $26 million next offseason and 7.1.
Oh, you're right. Yes. I'm sorry. So Cap Friendly threw me off because just like today, they decided, let's switch. Let's eliminate the last season. So they moved everything over. So I keep looking to the next season. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know. $7 million. So I mean, really, they don't have much money to work with, right? Yes, next year they'll have a lot more money to play with, which will be great for them. But the problem is next offseason, right? You've got Leon Draisaitl, who will have at that point 2 seasons left, 2 seasons. So, I mean, really, you're running out of time for this team. So you can't wait until next season to really try to bolster this depth. So,
I mean, they've got to trade. I feel like they've got to trade Zach Cassian. He just is not. He's not producing at the level that you want somebody who's making over $3 million.
I don't disagree with you. I think initially the thought process was Zach Cassian was going to be what basically they brought him in before Zach Hyman, and then they got Zach Hyman, and then they realized, crap, well, we don't need Cassian anymore. So now they've got him basically on the fourth line at $3 million, which you can't do. And so
no, especially not with a top line of $21 million.
Right, exactly. And then you look at on the back end, too. So another big problem, right? You might have to jettison Tyson Barrie because at $4.5 million and a right-handed shot, teams are going to line up to take a guy who's still got some offensive abilities.
There's no way they're going to deal him. You think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to free up cap space,
Duncan Keith, right?
Well, yeah, but no one's going to take $5.5 million.
LTIR that
Keith.
Bitch.
Not only that, too, but he's got a full no-move clause. So
yes, but his salary is only $1.5 million.
Sure, for a team like maybe say Arizona or Seattle, that's at the bottom of the cap, and really looking to maybe that might be a possibility. But again, if you're Duncan Keith, you can just veto that right away because you're in a good situation where you're in a location that you wanted to be in. Edmonton was your really only choice to move from Chicago, and then not only that too, but now you're going to go to a team that's at the bottom of the league. Like, no, if I'm Duncan Keith, I'm saying no to that. So. At that point, you might as well retire, right? And then, being over 35 anyways, the Oilers are going to be on the hook for that. So, I don't think you can do that.
Wouldn't the Blackhawks be on the hook for it?
Well, they'll be on the hook for part of it, yes. Yeah. But it's kind of like the Luongo situation where he signed that contract in Florida. He retired, and so Florida was on the hook for a little, but so was Vancouver. So
he signed it in Vancouver and then was traded, yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, and the other question mark then is also goaltending because Mike Smith, I mean, at times he played very well, and other times you could have definitely had a different goalie, and they might have fared better.
If there was any part of the ice he didn't flop on, I didn't see it, right? I mean, this guy was everywhere, and yes, there were times where he looked elite, like he was one of the best goaltenders in the playoffs, but there were a lot of times, especially that those last couple of games against Colorado, I looked at some of those goals and I'm like, bro, really? Like you could have made that stop. There were quite a few of those, and
yes, and honestly though, most of them, I'll say the overtime goal against Colorado, the first overtime goal, or no, it wasn't an OT. It was the one with like a minute left or a few minutes left. Maybe that was game 2 or 3. I don't remember now. That he let in, like it just kind of like went through him. That one was bad. Oilers had tied it up, and he just kind of shit the bed right there, and he did it against LA. I don't think that he's the reason why they lost to Colorado. I don't think they were beating Colorado. The way that Colorado was playing in that series, they weren't going to lose.
No, I don't think – I agree with you. I don't think he was the reason they lost. I think this team just – the defense alone was just terrible, right? When you're giving up 40 shots a game, I mean, you're not going to win. You're not going to win hockey games no matter how good your goaltender is. You just can't survive for that long without –
You can if you have Shesterkin in net.
Oh, sure, yeah. Like the Rangers have been giving up 40 shots every game. You're right about that. But for me, I think the back end, the defense was really more of the problem. Like, don't get me wrong, Darnell Nurse is a fine defender, but he's no Cal McCarr, and he's getting paid more money than Cal McCarr right now. And, if I'm an Oilers fan, I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, bro, we needed more out of you, more offensive production. His defense was okay, but the rest of the team just kind of shit the bed as far as playing defensive hockey is concerned. And, again, too, when Darnell Nurse is getting $9.5 million or $9.25 million bucks, he's not even on their top power play unit. Like, to me, that's a concern, right?
And now, see, at the same time, that is where if the Oilers thought they were going to be in this position, do you think they might have traded that first round pick and gone after a defenseman? Whereas they really didn't. And I got to think Evan Bouchard, Philip Broberg, those guys are going to take a step, hopefully into next year. They're both still on ELCs. Broberg with 2 years left, Bouchard with another year left on his ELC. So they at least defensively have some wiggle room. Clefbaum, we'll see. I wonder if they deal Clefbaum at $4.1 million. I wonder if he ends up getting shipped out. If Duncan Keith would leave, I think they'd trade him. But
yeah, listen, if Clefbaum, if they figure out that he's healthy, right, and they bring him back off of the LTIR, they can buy out his contract, and they would save about a little over $3 million in cap space. So you could potentially buy him out. But again, that's assuming he's healthy, right? Because you can't buy anybody out on injured reserve. So
sure. Well, and if he's on injured reserve, he doesn't matter. Right, exactly. You can go over. All right, last question. Over under Evander Kane. Let's say, do you think he's going to get more than $6 million in the open market? First off, whether it's from the Oilers or not, $6 million. Over under.
Yeah, I put him between $6 and $7 million. I think depending on, again, everybody's going to wait on Johnny Gaudreau and see if he signs before free agency, because if he's off the market, Evander Kane's price just goes up. Right now, again, term is a whole other question with this guy. I wouldn't give him 7 years, 6 or 7 years.
No,
but 3 years, yeah, at $6.5, $7 million. There's teams that I could see doing that.
Yeah, I think if he wants to stay in Edmonton, what does he sign for? 5?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, listen.
Would Edmonton keep him at 5?
I think you're going to have to get him in probably around Zach Hyman's price at $5.5 million. I think that's what it would take, but he's going to have to take a discount, right? And if you're Evander Kane, that's the smart move to stay in Edmonton, because your career is just going to. It's great for your career. You're 30 years old, and if you do it for another couple of years, you can still cash in on another contract.
Yeah,
right?
just sign a 1-year deal right now.
Right, maybe do that.
Maybe you're willing to sign a 1-year $4 million deal or something.
Yeah, but with all his financial legal troubles right now, I think we're in a situation where he's going to try to cash in as much as possible.
Which, hey, whether you're in a financial crunch or not, I can't blame a guy for going after as much money as he can get.
Nope.
You only play for so long. I get it. Does Evander Kane sign with the Edmonton Oilers? Yes or no?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going with no, because I think that, let's just say, based on his past decisions, I don't think he'll make a good decision this time. That's all I'll say. Well, let's go to the team that was eliminated by the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames, who kind of sit here in a position of a lot of really good players being free agents. Mangiopane, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau being the first ones to talk about. Brett Ritchie also a UFA. It's going to be Shillington. Oliver Shillington's an RFA. It's going to be a fascinating offseason for the Calgary Flames. Where do you focus first here for the Flames?
Well, first and foremost, it's Johnny Gaudreau, right? Because that's going to determine your whole entire, all the next steps, right? So, do we have to trade a Sean Monahan? Do we have to free up that cap space because Johnny Hockey's contract is rather large, right? Because I imagine he's going to come in probably if, again, assuming he re-signs with Calgary, I think it's probably going to take at least $11 million.
Yeah, I think he's probably shooting for Panarin money.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and why wouldn't you, right? You are, the last couple seasons you've been putting up more points than Panarin, and you basically drive that top line. Now, again, if he wants to take a discount, and because, again, they've got Matthew Tkachuk to re-sign, they've got pieces that I'm sure they would like to bring in the offseason because, look, I don't think they want to get embarrassed like that again next year. Not to say that they got embarrassed by Edmonton because, listen, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, what they did, that's that could happen to any team out there, right?
Right.
So, yeah, you start with Johnny Hockey, and then obviously you have to work with Matthew Tkachuk. And once you get those two guys locked up, then you can see what next steps you can take. And, again, that might be having to deal Sean Monahan, depending on, what his injury status is. I'm sure he'll be back for next season anyway.
I think there's no doubt that they'll deal Monahan.
Well, you can't pay a guy $6 million to play on the fourth line. That's just not possible.
No. And I do think that if he were to go somewhere else, he could contribute in the top six.
Yeah, I agree.
I think a change of scenery.
Talented enough.
He also is not a Daryl Sutter guy. That's just not his jam. He's not doing well under him, and I think you can easily get out from under it. He's young enough. If it would be one thing if he was 33, it would be hard to deal him. I gotta think that. I mean, he's got a 10-team no trade list. So, I guess he's not going to be easy to deal him to Arizona.
No, but here's the thing though. He's 27 and he's only got 1 year left, right? So if you're a team that wants to take a chance, right? Yeah, it's easy. I mean, literally, the Flyers could take a chance on him, right? I know they're looking for a top line, a top six centerman. They would love to, I'm sure Monahan would kind of fit in there. Maybe they have to send, JVR back the other way or something. I don't know, but still,
that would be a little too much monies.
But yeah, maybe. But still, I think there are plenty of teams, even outside of his modified no trade clause, his 10-team list that would be willing to take a gamble. And
hey, how about
really,
this?
it wouldn't.
I have a trade. We have a trade. What if you were to trade Sean Monahan to the St. Louis Blues? The Flames hold on to $2 million. Okay. The right now the Blues have $9 million in cap space for next season. Their free agents they don't have a whole lot in terms of UFA, RFA. They're okay this season. So you bring in Sean Monahan, and Sean Monahan fits beautifully with the St. Louis Blues, a team full of depth. He could play on the second, on the third line. Tyler Bozak's going to be gone. We'll see if David Perron re-signs in St. Louis. But if he doesn't, Monahan can play in the wing. He can play center. He kind of offers a lot of what the St. Louis Blues are about. Is that that moving piece where you can kind of drop a guy anywhere you want in the lineup, and he probably would produce given the right line mates, the right assignment. He's still a good defensive forward. I wonder if he'd fit well in St. Louis. It'd be a good little spot for him. Just saying, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that I think the St. Louis part would be a good fit, but as far as money, all that stuff, I just think St. Louis has got enough talent. They've got enough players right now. Having to re-sign David Perron, I think they're just going to hang tight, do their thing, and just go into next season. Maybe they try to figure out something different on the goaltending situation.
Well, how much is David Perron going to get?
I mean, this is a guy who's consistently put up, point per game almost the last few seasons. And at 34, he still got it.
He's not getting $8 million, though.
Oh, no. I think maybe $4 million, $4.5. I think you probably bring him in around that price.
I think he could. I think somewhere in the league he could probably get a 1-year deal at like $6.5 or $7 million.
Yeah, sure, but I think he's comfortable in St. Louis, and he gets plenty of ice time, and he's in a good situation.
Okay, let's say he takes a $5 million deal. There's still $4 million available for Sean Monahan.
Sure, yeah, but the problem is like I think if a team wants to take a chance on a guy like Sean Monahan, they ideally have to have a fit for him in their, maybe middle six at worst, at the center position or on the wing, or else really it's not worth it to me, right? Taking a flyer, unless again Calgary is willing to give you a first-round pick, right? Then I don't care where you fit him in on the lineup in the depth for 1 year. So.
Well, and if they're giving a first-round pick, you're taking the whole salary. You're taking it all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Another good spot for him might be to rejuvenate. Might be the Columbus Blue Jackets, who always seem to have a need for a center.
Don't count out Boston because if Patrice Bergeron doesn't come back, that might be an easy easy snag for the Bruins to try to get themselves a top 6 center.
Yeah, if you think he's a top 6 center, I guess that's
right. Absolutely.
That's the crux of the whole thing. Yes. Now, okay. Do you think they re-sign Johnny Gaudreau?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think right now I would probably put it at 60-40 and 60% in Calgary's favor right now. It is tempting because a guy of this caliber hasn't come on, the free agent market since John Tavares, right? I mean, a guy that produces at this level and, he's got a good hockey IQ. He plays good at both ends of the ice, right? I mean, there's a reason, he and that top line led the league in plus minus. It's no fluke. I mean, yes, Sutter's system, had a lot to do with that, but I think he is very responsible defensively on both ends. So, again, I'll give Calgary the nod because I know he wants to stay there, but it's tempting because this is really going to be the only time in his career where he can really go out, unless he signs a 2-year deal or something.
No, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, which isn't going to happen, but he can go out and cash in and really, really make bank and push close to that Connor McDavid money. So
over under $10.9 million.
Ooh.
Because he's getting a max deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go over just to say he goes at $11 million.
Okay, so an $88 million deal, if it's from the Flames.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have an inkling someone's gonna, it would give him that in free agency. So I think Calgary will pony up.
I think they have to. I mean, also with Milan Lucic with 1 year left on his deal, that $5 million plus is falling off, and they're in a really nice spot in terms of the rest of their set. I mean, they have no one on their team more than you've got Monahan at 6.3, but you've got Markstrom at 6, and everyone else is below 5.35.
But here's the question: if you give Gaudreau $11 million, what do you got to give Tkachuk? Right? Are you going to give him $9 million?
I mean, man, you're going to have to.
Because I think Tkachuk is really the true captain of this team, right? I think he is the future
104
captain,
points. You gotta think he's looking at Marner and saying, that give me Marner deal. But and the thing about Marner signed that deal with a lot more RFA years left. Matthew Tkachuk can go to arbitration and become a UFA next year. So he has a big hammer. I wonder if Tkachuk and Gaudreau sign for the same exact amount.
It wouldn't surprise me, but here's the thing: if Gaudreau doesn't re-sign, if I'm Matthew Tkachuk, I'm not taking more than a 1 or 2 year deal, so I can look at UFA. Money and see what I can get out there.
Absolutely,
especially with the flat cap going away here soon. So,
yep, yeah, I agree. Yeah, if Johnny Gaudreau decides to leave, it doesn't look nearly as pretty.
Right.
That's that's akin to any team losing their best player. I mean, it's going to make things look much more bleak. All right. Well, let's shift gears. Let's go to the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina Hurricanes, they just couldn't hang with the New York Rangers. They couldn't score. They could. I mean, Shesterkin was good, and I thought that they might end up pulling it out, but the Rangers found a way. And what do you think needed to be improved for the Hurricanes to beat the Rangers? And frankly, for the Hurricanes to get over this hump. They've been in this they make a playoff run almost every year. They're getting out of the first round, and they just can't seem to get past the elite teams.
Well, first off, you got to win on the road, right? I mean, that's a good start.
That would help.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I think the one thing that would really put them over the hump, again, I think, Freddie Anderson going down sucked, but
yes,
Antti Raanta was not the problem at all. I think he did a phenomenal job filling in a goal for this team and really stepped it up. I think their back end, they've got really good pieces. You don't need anything up front, but I think with this team, potentially losing Vincent Trocheck, Nino Niederreiter. Max Domi might leave. I don't know. Who knows if they get him re-signed or not. But I think the one thing this team could really use that would put them over the top is that superstar player, right? That guy who
that's
really
Andrei
is a line driver.
Svechnikov, isn't it?
Well, it's supposed to be, right? That was the thought process when they gave him this long-term deal. But, hey, at $7.75 million, I'm not disappointed with what he's producing.
I mean, in the playoff, he didn't have a great playoff. 5 points in 14 games. That's not going to cut it for the quote-unquote a best player on a team. I mean, Aho had an okay playoff, 11 points in the 14 games. But yeah, you're right. I mean, their big guys didn't really come to play the way you want them to.
Right, and maybe Seth Jarvis is that potential future superstar, but to me, I don't foresee that. Now, maybe what you need to do is, for example, like there's rumors flying around right now that Pasternak might not re-sign with Boston because he doesn't get along with their GM Don Sweeney, and he doesn't like the way things went down with Torrey Krug, etc. And they just fired Bruce Cassidy too, which is a whole other thing. But
I think it was Brad Marchand didn't like Bruce Cassidy. That's what I was. Well,
hearing. No, Brad Marchand didn't like Bruce Cassidy, right. But Pasta doesn't like their GM Don Sweeney, from what I understand. So
I don't think Pasta liked being taken out of that line.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't either. But again, if Patrice Bergeron doesn't resign, there's already rumors floating around that they may have to entertain trading Pasta. So, like, what I mean is, in short here is, Carolina could use a guy like that, right? I mean, every team could, but I think that's the one thing Carolina needs right now is someone to step up and be that superstar who can take over a game if needed and really put them over the top. Because, look, you look at, Edmonton we just talked about, right? If they get in trouble, they don't get all their lines scoring. If they don't get that depth scoring, they've got a guy up front, two guys up front, really, that can take over a game and just put the team on their back and win. Now, Carolina, I look at this team and say, maybe Sebastian Aho can do that, maybe. But, there's nobody else on this team that I really look when they're not getting scoring from their depth, when they're not getting scoring from their top stars. There's really nobody on here that I look at and say, they could go out there and win you a couple games on their own, right? It's just not there.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I personally think Bergeron's coming back. I think that the firing of Bruce Cassidy had a lot to do with Bergeron. And I think he'll be back. He's going to give this one more shot. And you know who else is going to come back? David Krejci. Now that Bruce Cassidy's gone, David Krejci will come back.
Well, that would make Pasta happy, too, because apparently he was, the rumor is he was upset the way, Don Sweeney took care of, David Krejci to let him walk like that. But, we'll see, I guess.
But I thought Krejci wanted to leave.
Well, yeah, Krejci wanted to leave, but under the surface, there might have been a reason for that, right? He didn't get along with Don Sweeney.
I heard that it was that he wanted to play in the Czech Republic for at least 1 year.
Yeah.
Because he wanted his family to live over there and like experience it or something. Anyways, never surprises me when players have been in the same organization for a long time. That's when those relationships, they're hard to maintain. Over
it's like family.
You
get mad every once in a while, right? I mean,
right. Yep. What do you think? Does Bergeron come back?
Yeah, I think so. I think he takes another shot at this because I think right now their window. Granted, they're going to start the season off, with half the core on IR, but I still think the core of this team is good. Yes, I do think they played above expectations or where I think they probably would have been. But I still think this is a playoff team, and once they get in the playoffs, I still think they're good enough to compete. And with that core group of players they have, I still think they're good enough to make a run at it. So why not, right? Why not come back for another shot? So,
will Bergeron sign a 1-1, a 1 year?
I don't think it'll be a 1-1. I think it'll be a 1 year, but he'll get a little bit more than that. I mean, he might sign for like $5 million, $4 million.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But right now they only have $2 million in cap space.
Yeah, I think you'll see some players get moved, and especially with all the LTIR that Marchand and McAvoy's going on IR, true. That's going to free up space too. So
that's true. That's a good point.
But
I don't know how we got on the Bruins, but we did.
Yeah, and again, I think goaltending they're set. I think their defense is still phenomenal, but for me, the one piece that's missing is just that superstar up front. I think that they could use to get themselves over the top.
Okay. I just want to ask one question with the Florida Panthers. Does Claude Giroux re-sign with the Panthers?
Yeah, I think it's going to take some wiggling. I think he wants to stay there, and I think he'll take a discount because this team is still, in my mind, Stanley Cup contender when everybody's healthy and firing. So why wouldn't you want to stay there? Because I don't think he's going to – there's not too many other teams that are at this level of, compete with this kind of talent that I think, really he's going to have options for in free agency. So really he likes it there, and that's where he wanted to go to begin with, so why not stay there?
Agreed. And so far, Andrew Brunette still hanging tight.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, especially with
I don't think he's
Bruce
getting dumped.
I don't know.
I don't think he's getting fired. You would have fired him already.
Would you, though? I don't know.
At this point, I think you would have.
Maybe you're waiting to do all the exit interviews.
That's done.
I don't
all
really
those
know.
are done.
I mean, it could happen at any time. I mean, look, Boston's been done for a while, right? But they waited.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and I get you're not really too concerned about the draft. Maybe, I wonder how much of it would have to do with some of these contracts. I mean, if Barkov likes him, he's staying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, for sure. And then, so here's a question too, I guess. Speaking of, veteran guys, do you think Joe Thornton is coming back this year too? I mean, I don't think it's with Florida, but do you think he re-signs anywhere?
No.
Okay.
I think he's done.
Fair.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he's going to be like the Chelios, like just keep on hanging on, go somewhere, sign a like one of those
league minimum.
No, sign one of the like play-in.
Oh, the PTO tryouts.
The PTO, yeah. Tryout. That would be insulting.
It almost is.
They also, we're 1 year away from Jonathan Huberdeau becoming a UFA, and that is going to be bananas. Probably going to get very similar dollars to Johnny Gaudreau. And he had a bad playoff. He only had 1 goal in 10 games. Didn't play the best in the playoffs, but he's still going to get paid. This league is 80% what you do in the regular season. Let's be honest. Like it's so hard to go, well, yeah, I know that was 10 games, but over the course of 80 and over the course of hundreds of regular season games, here's what I did. And teams pay on that. I mean, you can all, like, guys who have had bad playoffs, all it takes is one little switch, and in a different year, they're a point per game in the playoffs, and they roll, and they shake that whole, this guy doesn't show up in the playoffs kind of mantra. So I think Jonathan Huberdeau is going to get, oh my gosh, he's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch. And then, like, on the opposite end of what you just said there too, right? So guys show up in the playoffs. For example, Ben Sherratt showed up last year in the playoffs, was a big name in the trade deadline, and then just vanished this year. And so I think he hurt himself, right?
Sure.
Come free agency, I think there's not going to be a lot of. Luckily for him, there's not a lot of big name free agent defensemen. It's Jonathan Kleinberg, and that's about it. So
yeah, Ben Sherratt's he's still gonna get paid pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Coming off of making he's making like $3.5 million. I got to think he's probably going to be a $4.5-5 million, just because he's so valuable. Maybe not a super long deal, another 3-year deal, 2-year deal, but he'll probably find some team willing to shell out for him.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I think that's our show. Any thoughts about this Rangers Tampa series? I think that's where we'll close. It's 2-2 right now. Where do you see this one going?
Oh, it's so hard. Yes, I picked the Rangers to win this one, just because I've been loving everything. It's always the goaltender for me, right? I love.
This is one of the best goaltending matchups ever.
Yeah, it's
truly
phenomenal.
Ever.
But really, you looked at game one, and I kind of threw that one away because Tampa Bay had been off for so long, right? You're going to come back, and I figured that was going to happen. And you kind of saw it towards the end of game 2 where Tampa just sort of got their mojo back a little bit. And I don't really believe in, momentum that much, but I do think, if there is a little bit of that going on, I think Tampa's got that going right now. And so, really, it's a best of 3 right now. And so the Rangers have got to find a way to not, let Tampa put up 100 shots every game. And
50-something the other game.
Yeah, and now they've got to deal with injuries. I don't know if Ryan Strome is done for the series, what's going on with him, and Philip Hedl. That kid line has been the most consistent line from game 1 of round 1 for them. And, we don't know what's going on with him either. Injury-wise, he left, game 4 and didn't return.
Yeah, Strome, Hedl, and Point are all game-time decisions.
Right, and for Tampa, they've got such a structured game and such. They know what to do. They're great at time management. They don't have to worry about Braden Point as much as maybe another team would have to. So this might hurt. Luckily for the Rangers, they have Andrew Kopp who can play center too, so that won't hurt them as much there. But now you've got to slide Barclay Goudreau in that third line center spot and hope he fills the gap, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if with Point, I'm wondering if you're just going, no, we're waiting. We're waiting one more game.
Yeah, you might as well wait till your backs are against the wall, right? There's no point in rushing him because
Cooper,
if he gets
Cooper
hurt,
said I'd be surprised if he plays this next game, honestly, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's out for the series anymore. So it sounds like he's not going to play game 5. Even though they're open to the possibility. They're saying I don't know, which he's not going to play game 5. Maybe game 6. Give him another 2 days. But you're still picking the Rangers. Are you going Rangers in 6 or 7?
No, I'll go Rangers in 7. I'm sticking with my pick. I just want to see. I just want to see the Rangers go up against Colorado. I think that would be a fun match. Honestly, either two of these teams against Colorado is going to be a fun matchup. But I just want to see Shesterkin. I want to see Shesterkin. That's all.
I think I picked Tampa in 6, so I still got a chance.
You still got a chance.
Personally, the Tampa-Colorado final, that's the most epic possible final because you've got the absolute best team in the West against the defending 3-time Stanley Cup champion. The Rangers have kind of been this. They've worked their way through the playoffs. They had a fortunate first round. They very easily could have been out in the first round, and they've worked their way to this position. They could get to the finals. I think they'll get destroyed by Colorado. But Tampa, I think Tampa would be if Tampa could beat Colorado, that would be their most, like, the biggest series win that they've had in this whole entire run, which is saying something.
Yeah, I will say for the Rangers, they have achieved. They've done the rebuild quicker than since that letter was written,
right?
And they decided they were going to rebuild. They've gone through this process quicker than I expected, right? I didn't expect them to be this kind of competitive conference final team for at least another year. So
yeah, at least.
Yeah, at least. So
and the crazy thing about it, they might not be back for 4 years. That's just the way that it works. There's no guarantee you're getting back to the third round. Very few teams get to the third round multiple years in a row. Look at this year. There's one team that is back in the conference final. Was Colorado in the conference final? No, they were in the second round. They lost last year. So, only one of 4 made it back to the conference finals. There is no guarantee ever that you'll make it back, and definitely not every year. So, all right. Well, that is our show. You can find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. Justin, enjoy the rest of what's left of the evening, and to our listeners, enjoy game 5, 6, and maybe 7 as we head towards the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll talk to you soon.